Fixing a broken, beat up Epiphone that was left for trash. Let's see what I can do. This isn't my bench, I just started working here. This mess isn't from me, but let's see what I can do with just spare parts that I find around, see if I can bring this guitar back to life. Let's do it. I already put this on. Let's see what else I can do. All spare parts. Found this pickup ring, it fits. It's a little tall. Had to squeeze it really hard to get these springs in there. They're a little big, but that's lining up. But now to clean it. Now that I know it'll fit, time to clean it. So there can be at least one pickup. Clean up time. Da, 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 da. Found a neck pickup, also Epiphone. CN for neck. For a conductor, which I don't need, but these holes don't want to fit the screws I have just barely, so I'm gonna drill them out. Just barely one drill bit size bigger. Quick once over on the body went shockingly well. Just some light watered down cleaning solution. I'll do more later, but wow, that came out great. These pickup rings are a little high in general compared to the height of the fretboard. They're really high. They're not curved with the exact curvature of the guitar here. Maybe these are for an SG, but I was told work with what we got. This music store needs all the help I can get. They're not doing too well financially, so again, I gotta clean all this up, but I'll see if it works. In worst case scenario, I will file those down. But I think we might be okay. Let's find out. Found a wiring diagram. I want to solder the white and the green together. I'll show you how to do that. So basically, you want to heat up the actual wire itself. I did, again, attach the green and the white. You want to let that heat up evenly. Hold it as long as you can, as best you can. Get that nice and hot. And you want to feed the solder from the opposite end. So you're actually touching the wire, not the hot soldering iron. That way you know the metal is actually hot. And then after you touch it, as you'll see here, get it all nice and covered and let it sit for a second. And then let go. That way as you're feeding the solder, it's cooling it down. But as you hold it there, you're making sure to heat it all the way back up again. And then it should bond nicely. And it looks like it infiltrated the wires pretty well. Now to tape it off and forget about it, because we're not doing coil taps. Again, as bad as this looks, I was told only use what I have here. So I have some masking tape. I tape the wires up individually and then I tape them down. Again, as nasty as this is the lowest budget Epiphone Les Paul repair. So there you have it. That way they won't get short out or come unsoldered. Okay, again, something I would never do otherwise is, see this core wire? All I have is green and yellow, so I'm supposed to solder the black and the bare wire together. That's your ground. That goes to the back of the potentiometer. So I'm going to do green. So green for ground and yellow for who knows what. So these two are going to come together and wrap around this green guy here. Now I'm going to tape that off and tape it down. Now again, yuck, but this is just the beginning of my journey here, but it held up pretty well. People might say soldering bare wires to braided wires, you know, again, just doing what I can with what I got. I'm going to repeat the process with another wire, the yellow, for the red conductor. So off camera, I also drilled these corner holes on all four corners because none of the screws we have here, and that's a lot of screws, would fit through. So I drilled them out, and I'm going with the screws that match the best. Do they match super well in general? No, but they'll have to do. So let's get these mounted and go from there. Alrighty, so we're actually starting to look a little bit like a guitar here. The screws don't all match up, but I can find better ones later. I had to really push them in there. I don't want to break this off, but if I can get under there. Under there, under where? See, from a distance, still not perfect, but looks way better. So we're already getting pretty darn close. Now to address the elephant in the room. That nasty, nasty fretboard. The frets have some serious dents, especially around here, but you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna clean it off with this. This is made for fret leveling, but I've used these even before working here and being limited by tools. I've used these to clean the frets. So I'm gonna use some alcohol, a high percentage isopropyl alcohol, and this guy. Let's see how she looks. Just with the first fret. You can already see it starting to shine more. Look at that. It's already scraping up tons of gunk. So let's keep going. Next step, steel wool. Can't believe they actually have it. Let's see how it goes. Again, apologize for the mess. Here's some of the gunk that came off the fretboard already. Going up and down. And I'm also going side to side on the frets, like this, each one. Each individual fret. Now what to do with all this metal dust? Fretboard looks way better, frets look better. You're gonna like when it's oiled. But what do you do with all this dust? Take a junk pickup, preferably uncovered, like this, and just sweep it around. Look at that magic. That's some, you know, go to the jungle and convince an uncontact tribe that you have powers. Magnetism. Look at that. And now, alcohol. Clean that stuff right off. Give it a couple more baths, then I'll put some teak oil on it. Fretboard came out great, but I'm also going to clean up this gunk here. High enough percentage of alcohol won't damage the electronics, but it also shouldn't damage this finish since it's not a nitrocellulose finish. So let's see if I can get this gunk off. Just sprayed some teak oil or squirted it. Now I'm going to rub it in with my fingers. And it is drinking it up real nice. Holy cow. Especially that last area after that fret. Wow. I used this screwdriver, pushing a paper towel with some alcohol into that area here where there was all that gunk that was there. Most of it's coming off. I guess I accidentally transferred it to other parts of the guitar at some point, but a little bit anyway. But I'll clean it in a minute. So as you can see, the teak oil has really been absorbed nicely. Look at that. Gorgeous. Gonna wipe a little extra off. I put a little extra on here to hopefully dissolve that gunk, and look at that body. Oh my gosh. Looks amazing. Shiny even. So a little bit of oil, it's gonna come off, but wow, that made a huge improvement. I am in disbelief. Scroll back in the video and you'll see how bad it was, but look at that. Coming out nice. Just did the tuner on the bottom right, the tuning machine. Went in perfectly, it's just 2 screws. But this one is already coming apart too. I'm gonna check the rest. The originals have this E logo in there. It might be hard for you to see. This has been replaced, I think. But replace these 2 at the very least. And see if we can find some more hardware. So this bag of hardware has already been very fruitful. Plus I found a pickguard and a thinner top bracket, top pickup mounting ring. So gonna keep digging for hardware, but so far this is coming along pretty well thanks to these bags I found and another box. So the pickguard went on pretty well. I used 1 screw because this area is stripped out. Looks like the pickguard was kind of ripped off somehow, but got a screw in there to temporarily fit it. Can't find the bracket for here. might be able to make one, or I might just screw it down, honestly. But I'd have to drill into the wood for that, so that might be a no-no. But I thought it might not look good, you know, the cream hardware with the pickguard, but I think it kind of does. So we made the decision to permanently mount the pickguard with what we have. So I decided to cut one of these. These are electrical wire connector caps, I forget the exact name. But cut this part off, this part here, so I can put that underneath the pickguard, as you see, and put that there so it has some pressure there. It has some, you know, mounting point to hold it up, and we're going to screw down to the body, and that way the pickguard stays mounted and stays off the body. But so far it's looking pretty good. Took this off, our wires are there, successfully in. Now this doesn't want to come off. Well, no, it just did. Look at that. I had to pry it off a little bit because this screw is stripped. But, let's get those two out. Get this bad boy in there. Made in Japan. Whoops. We'll do the soldering. Making progress. So I had to hold the back nut behind this one on the actual input jack, like this, and then squeeze just barely this one on top and wrench it to get the old nut off and get it back onto this new part. But now I'm gonna have to drill two small holes here, most likely for the input jack, as I'm waiting for this wiring harness diagram from Epiphone. So just barely got that to work, but yeah, a little more work to be done. Just waiting on the exact wiring. If I didn't have the wiring diagram, what I would do is I would solder the ground to the back of the pot, which is a pretty safe bet, and then just touch and tap until it's right. But yeah, making some serious progress. So since two holes lined up, I wanted to make sure to test it, make sure the input jack goes in smoothly, and it does. Before I drilled, make sure I don't need to use these holes instead that are existing, or these. And use a 1/16 inch bit, get right in there, and it should be perfect. You see I put the green wire under the ground already there, so it's actually pushing into the pot, it's not soldered. But if you look, my friend here, he's actually stroking the low E string. If I tap this to that part of the pot, helps me know which lug to use. So it also means I soldered into the pickup correctly, but I know it's the far right lug. Gotta be soldered, of course, but thank you. Now again, with this ground here, I had to strip the wire, but I used this this piece here, this already tinned piece of solder from the other ground, and I used it to wedge the other wire in. So I tucked it under there. I'm gonna press it a little more. So I'm not gonna mess up that solder joint from the other stuff and try to join it, but if I use that to force it down and keep that really right against the pot, then I can get them both nice and hot and apply some solder. And then after you put the solder in, you want to hold the heat still on it, that way that cooling solder, the solder that's colder, is all heating up, and then let it cool without anything interrupting it. So I'm going to put the white wire there, it's hard to see, on that lug of the pot, and we should be done. Epic. Another thing, when you twist your wires like this one, it's easy to grab somewhat far away and only twist the middle. Try to get the very ends twisted as well, right to the very tip of your fingers. Get the very ends nice and twisted as well. So let me solder it to that lug. So some of the knobs are loose. I'll tell you how to pop them off. Take a small screwdriver and a pick. That way you don't scratch the finish more than this one already is. And just kind of pry them off as you go. Aha! See, that's how nasty it was beforehand. Look at that. Disgusting. Now, first off, we want to clean that a little bit and work that nut back on. Make sure there's no overly tight tension below with the wiring. Use this here once the pot's already fully turned. Just a little, you don't want to strip the pot. And then clean, put the knob back on. I'm going to repeat that a few times.
Yeah, I like it. That's a great deal, man. I like it.